G'day legends, I hope you're all amazing. We're checking out Firmware 8 Beta for the FM3 today. It adds, amongst other things, the Gapless switching update from the FM9 and Axif X3, the Cygnus X3 modeling, all the new amp models, a bunch of new effect modes in here, and generally like supercharges the FM3. If you're a Dragon Ball Z fan, it's like the FM3 just went Super Saiyan for the first time, and it's hanging out with the big boys now, and all the perceived limitations with this unit, you can now work around really, really easily, especially with the Gapless update in there. Now, if you've updated, and again, it is not an official release just yet, so try it at your own risk. There's a few settings you need to enable from the front panel on here. I'll show you how to do it really quickly. Very easy to set up from the front panel. Press the E encoder to go to the setup menu, navigate down to global settings, and we're going to come down to the effect mixing section. So there's the Gapless changes setting, set that to all, and there's spillover. We want to set that to all. So Gapless changes and spillover set to all. Exit and come down to the utilities menu on here. We will page across to the preset tab, and then we want to hit the A encoder over here to upgrade all our presets. This will resave all of the presets on this firmware. Your presets need to be saved on this firmware so you can switch between them, and you need Gapless and spillover set to all on there. So again, upgrade all presets needs to happen, and you have to come to the global settings and set Gapless and spillover to all, and then it's happy days. Now we can tear into the good stuff and hear some sounds. So I've put together two presets on here. I've just called them Highlights A and Highlights B. They're just my favorite things stuck into a bunch of presets, and I'll show you how you can gaplessly switch between the scenes and the channels in the amp block and the presets. So the first scene on Highlights A is using this Brit 800 2203. Highlights B is using the Boogie Mark V Extreme mode on there. And check this out. I can just switch from preset to preset without a gap because I've done that update procedure. Couldn't do that before. There's no gap in there. It means if you run into, say, a CPU limitation on a particular preset, you don't have to compromise anymore. Just take your preset, like come up here, go save a copy, save it to an empty preset slot, remove a block and add the thing that you want. For example, let's say you're running close to the CPU limit and you're like, you know what, I've got a chorus in this preset. I'd love to use a flanger instead of the chorus, just for one song. The logical thing to do would just be save a copy of the preset. You can, of course, switch gaplessly to it now and replace the chorus with a flanger, and you're done. There's 500 preset slots with 8 scenes per preset, so you've probably got enough space on there for your typical gig, unless your gig goes for like 24 hours and you need a new sound per song. You may be doing that. I don't want to prejudge anything, but for a caveman like me, like 1 or 2 presets is going to do the job so well. So highlights in here, the Brit 800 2203 high. The previous Brit 800 was a 50 watt JCM 800. This is a 100 watt one. It sounds so good, and it takes a boost really, really well. I like the CC boost in the preamp. So I'll play some Michael Schenker and then I'll boost it. Very, very good sounding rock amp model. what more do you need in your life aside from a JCM 800 if you want to do a rock gig? So that's sounding great. Not a new amp model, but it has been updated. The deluxe reverb. I really like the normal channel. I can use this to show off the new Nobel's ODR model, Nobelium OVD1, with some of the new trem modes. The neon trem sounds great with Fender style amps. You still got the great bias trem, harmonic trem. There's 2 new optical trem modes in there. I think they've been updated, and the original just trem is now called the VCA trem. But yeah, the neon trem sounds great with this, and the deluxe reverb is just sounding awesome, especially with like a single coil mode here. So good. I love the way that sounds. The AC30 Brilliant model, or Class A 30 watt Brilliant, this is easily my favorite AC30 or Vox derivative amp in here. Crank the bass, treble, and high cut on here, play around with the gain, and it kind of does all the Voxy things you would expect. And then onto what may be my favorite new high gain amp model, the 5153 100 watt Stealth Red. The trick with the 5150s is to crank the snot out of the presence, get it up above 9. The real amps have a weird kind of taper on the presence pot, so you got to crank them up. That's what the knob's there for. Don't be scared to turn things up. If they sound good, they are good. And this, I've got the CC boost on it. This is probably what I'm going to start using live for ragdoll gigs now. Like, I love the Mark Series amps, and they will always be my first port of call, but this just has like a little bit of JCM 800 DNA in there or something. It's a little bit browner, it's still pretty tight, but it's hairy. All the superlatives you can use. I'll kick in the tape chorus. There's a tape flanger as well in there, and there is this new dual head tape delay in there. I'm actually going to set this ratio to 75%. And I might turn up the core delay time to, like, say 700 milliseconds and add a little bit of mix. Why not? Let's have a listen to what this does. A cheeky little bit of panning 2290 on there never goes astray. For anyone interested, that is the riff from a Ragdoll song called Heaven Above. You want to grab some Ragdoll music or something? We've got vinyl, we've got CDs, we've got patches and t-shirts and all that kind of stuff. It's linked in the video description. Moving on, there are models of the Boogie Mark V and various channels in here. So there's the green channel, and then you've got like the 2C plus mode and the Mark IV mode of the Mark V. That's not confusing at all. But I really like this red extreme mode, and you've got to dial it in a little bit differently to a typical Mark. It's like a Mark Recto hybrid on there. This, you know what this is? I'm going to use another Dragon Ball Z reference over here. This is kind of like, it's like a Vegito or a Gogeta. Like you got the Recto, you got the Mark II C Plus and the Mark IV, and I don't know, they use the fusion earrings or do the fusion dance, and this is what you get. But it's just a giant chungus of an amp. Mark V, the Mark IV, the Brit 800 mod, and then the wonderful ODS 100 Clean. I've swapped guitars. This is a PRS CE24. Talking about the Gapless update in here, you can obviously go whole hog on a bunch of presets and then switch between presets, but what I found is it has made my live presets a whole lot more efficient. So here I'm using the 5153 100 watt Stealth Red on the first channel, channel A, that's saved to scene 1. Then on scene 2, I'm using channel B on there. So I don't have to attach any modifiers on there. I've just dialed in slightly different settings on there, and I have turned the overall scene level up over here. I could have done it in the amp block if I wanted to do that and keep it easier to manage. The other thing that I'm doing is I'm using a single multi-tap delay block, in this case for a lead delay, on the third scene for a rhythmic delay. You can see the values in here. And on the fourth scene, I'm using it for a kind of faux Leslie effect over there. I've got a bit of London plate reverb. I've got a bit of pitch detune over here. My fifth scene uses this ADSR filter for a lo-fi thing over here. So it's all pretty straightforward on there, just switching channels for the lead scene and then switching channels on the multi-tap delay. It does this. So that single multi-tap delay is doing so much of the heavy lifting in there. It's pretty amazing. Another way I could do it is with standalone presets. So in this case, I'm using the Mark IV mid-gain. I'm just going to cycle through a rhythm preset, a lead preset, and then a rhythmic delay preset. You'll see I'm using the first channel in all of the blocks over here. I'm just changing the settings between them. Extend this approach to include more or less per preset or per scene, or make use of channels. I have so many tutorials on the FM3, FM9, and Axe-FX 3, and I'd highly encourage you to go and take a look at some of those. If you have questions, let me know in the comments section below. Feel free to write to me on Discord. My server is linked in the video description. And if you appreciate these kind of videos and you like what I'm doing here on the channel, go and check out some of the music that I make with Ragdoll, or sign up to my Patreon for some exclusive content. In the meantime, if you're an FM3 user, try this firmware out. I'm sure the official release won't be too far off, and you'll be basking in the glory of all the new amps, the new modeling, and of course the gapless switching. Let me know how you intend to use it in the comments section below, and I'll play you all out with a little Ragdoll riff recorded with the 5153 Red Stealth. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.